Well, welcome to Women in Innovation. I can't believe it. This is actually the 4th edition that we're doing. And I have to admit, it's one of my favorite things, but I mean, who would have thought? So Women in Innovation was actually originally founded by Nathalie and me, who's also joining here today. And we're both in innovation, for a long time, Nathalie a lot longer than me, and just seeing, okay, there's not that many women who we have in innovation, but we think that it's really, really important to have women in innovation. And so we decided to do something about it, and we founded this initiative called Women in Innovation. And basically what we're trying to do here is inspire many women to actually join us in innovation and help shape our future. And so I'm so excited to see all of you here today. And whether you're male or female or non-binary, it doesn't matter, but just to have you here and kind of have us share different perspectives on that. So this year's International Women's Day is tomorrow. And I just found out that here in Berlin, in Germany, it's actually it's like a holiday for the city, which I think is awesome. So I'm off tomorrow and celebrating International Women's Day in Berlin. The motto this year is Inspire Inclusion. And so that's why we decided that here today, we want to talk with you, with each other, and with you about what it means, to have inclusion in innovation. What is inclusive innovation? And for that, I have 3 others that have joined me here today. We have Nathalie Turner, we have Caitlin Lawrence, and we have Smaranda Ellerbrock. And at this point, I would pass over to you, maybe Nathalie, so you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Sandra, and welcome everybody. It's fantastic to be here. And I can't believe what Sandra and I were just saying, that we haven't actually met yet, but we will be meeting soon in Germany. So that's fantastic. And this is our 4th event. So my name's Nathalie. I'm basically a writer, a speaker, a champion of innovation. I have been running an innovation consultancy called the NTO Network since 2006, first in England, then in Asia. I now live in Lisbon, but work globally and internationally. I wrote the book, Yes, You Can Innovate, which was published by Pearson in 2018 and won an award for that. So that was very exciting. And more women need to be writing books on innovation. So hopefully you'll get inspired today. And I'm also the inventor of the 6 Eyes of Innovation, which is a profiling instrument that measures people's strengths and how they can contribute best to the innovation journey, and also a roadmap really for helping to bring to life new ideas.
Great. Thank you so much, Nathalie. Very, very impressive. And I've always enjoyed exchanging with you. Also about like the 6 Eyes of Innovation, which I think is
actually really good ideas, but nothing.
And your place also where you can innovate, even if you're not like a super creative person. So I think that this is something that is really good. Cool. So Caitlin, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. We're really excited to be here, Sandra, and seeing everybody with their cameras on. I'm Caitlin Lawrence. I didn't put it in the chat, but I'm based in the US in Georgia. And I have some team members that have joined the call as well, who are based all around the world. So nice to see them here. I actually joined the innovation space 5 years ago. My background is in public history. I worked in a social justice museum prior to transitioning into the corporate environment. And really, we didn't have an innovation framework at the company that I work for, Birla Carbon. We're manufacturing with 16 sites in 11 different countries. And I was really just interested when I joined the company in being a change agent. And so our innovation team has grown and changed over the years, and really excited to be surrounded by so many men and women who are passionate about innovation as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for being here. All right, Smaranda, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Sandra. Also a great pleasure to be here today and talking about losing your voice. I kind of, I don't know if it's what's going on, but it will be fine. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I think innovation is not Yeah, it's not in my title or part of, let's say, directly a company I work for, but I think mainly two things I have in common with at least Sandra or with all of you here today. First is the fact that I'm based in Bonn, so close to Sandra, and maybe one day we will meet soon. But definitely, second part is I'm a super fan of diversity and inclusion, and definitely we will talk a bit later. DHL, also the company I work for, is a pioneer or a big supporter in terms of what we do in this area. About myself, I'm grown and born, let's say, in the HR world professionally, grew up, let's say, and developed since the beginning of my career in the HR world, different roles, and always with DHL as a company. So from the very beginning, more than 15 years ago, always in Bonn. Even though my studies and background are a bit different, not really in the HR world, I think the logistics industry and the HR function as such chose me. It was not me choosing it. It was a bit of a funny story about going back in time, but definitely also the logistics. I don't think I will always dreamed about I want to work in logistics. It happened, and I look back and I'm really grateful for it because it has been quite a ride and quite a journey.
That sounds good. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I realized I started talking, but I didn't introduce myself. So I'm Sandra Fernholz from Hype Innovation. We are a company based out of Bonn, Germany, like you were saying, Smaranda. And we do software and consulting and events also for innovation management. And I myself, I am the head of sustainability. So I take care of all things that have to do with sustainability and innovation.
And they're calling us to check.
My passion lies is like, how can we innovate not only for profit, but how can we innovate for people and for planet? And this is also why women innovation is like very much, one of my babies that I'm very proud of. So one of these formats that I think is really important to have this inclusion in innovation. So yeah, thank you again for everyone who is joining us. Also the ones who were just, joining the call. As we said before, please go ahead. Put any questions or comments that you might have in the chat. It's for you to use it. All right, Smaranda. So let's dig a little bit deeper into that. We are dealing with all of these bigger buzzwords, and sometimes we just don't really know what exactly it is that we're talking about. So we talk about inclusion. What is inclusion? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What is inclusion? Why do we need it? What can I imagine with that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sandra. And I think if you ask maybe 10 people, maybe all of them will tell you or give you their own view on inclusion, what inclusion is. But I can share, at least for me, working also in the HR world, as I said, in the DHL environment for so many years now and living it on a day-to-day. And I've seen the journey also DHL has taken, has not always been this way, being now even more inclusive and having even more opportunities in this area. I think for me, it's basically having everyone, no matter where they come from, no matter what their background is, to feel welcome, respected, and also valued and supported within any group. It can be at work, it can also be outside work. And I think if we can enable the creation of these very diverse teams, and again, I've seen it firsthand, even in my own team or working with diverse teams in the business, we will be able to be, I think, on one hand, more creative, solve problems faster, right? In the business world, that's quite a key asset to have, and have also new ideas, talking about innovation, and maybe consequently grow the business you are in or the community you are in as well. So yeah, being inclusive has such, I think in my mind, such a powerful, wonderful power, right? Making sure that people from different backgrounds and experiences and identities as well have a voice at the table, and they contribute with their own ideas and unique perspectives. And I believe that this diversity also fosters, talking about innovation, a lot, fosters innovation and problem solving in any environment we are in.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we all can see, that people who feel included, like they can be themselves, they come to work, they come with creativity, they come with productivity, and it's just a very different setting than if somebody doesn't feel like they're respected, or that people want them to be there, or want them to be there as themselves, right? So I do think that inclusion in just my personal life, also in my professional life, has played a huge role in showing up with different people. And we see that also here at Hype, where we're 200 people, but we're spread across multiple different language countries, and we speak like 15 native languages. And just to kind of see like how much that can actually bring us together, and how much we can benefit from that is something that is really, really powerful. So
I wanted to just interrupt
yeah.
you for a second. Also, another example, even indeed, you mentioned your current team, but even the team I'm working with now, I look after North Europe as a region and global functions. We are a small HR team, but indeed from different countries around North Europe, everyone and then I inherited the team, right? Was not, I did not hire them. They were there when I took over. But it's so wonderful to see, and sometimes even challenging, again, can be both. In the meetings we have, in all the topics we have to handle, to see their perspective.
Impact on performance as well.
The views they add to the table is really, it's a rich, very rich discussion and platform, and lots of ideas come out of it that really contributes to the overarching
or like 10%
purpose and the business end result we want to achieve. So it's really, I see it every day with my team, but also in the business, it's quite diverse in the whole Hillebrand Gori world, I would say. And it has challenges, but most of the times it's very rewarding and very enriching.
Absolutely. I completely agree. So like I come from like the IT industry, right? So software industry, traditionally very male, innovation industry, traditionally very male. Sometimes I struggle a little bit to explain like, why do we even need International Women's Day? Why is it important that we have things like that? Shouldn't every day be International Women's Day? What do you think about that? How would you respond to that?
Yeah, so tomorrow, the International Women's Day, the special day, and by the way, I just want to mention DHL is an official partner of the International Women's Day for many years now. And we do celebrate officially the 8th of March already for quite a number of years, with lots of activities and lots of internal events that we have. One of them was also earlier, Sandra, you joined, I believe, on LinkedIn. But yeah, to your question, to me, this is, I would say, it's not just a date in the calendar. We tick that box, Friday is over, and then we move on with our weekend. But I think it's a day or a time to also have to spend some time and really reflect. I think it's necessary to really reinforce the relevance of the topic, because I think a lot has happened, I would say, along these recent years. Lots of achievements in the society that maybe was not always there in terms of bringing inclusion, diversity where it should be. Especially for women diversity, gender diversity. As we know, there are lots of ladies out there who want to lead an active life in all aspects of life, right? Socially, economically, culturally, in the political spheres. And I think this day serves as a reminder, first, of the progress that has happened already. And it's great, lots of achievements, as we said, in terms of gender equality, and not only, but also it's a day maybe to reflect on the fact that, or highlight that there is still work that needs to be done further. We are not there yet. And it was interesting to hear this morning or at noon what the colleagues mentioned in that call, Sandra, also from the DHL, that maybe the younger generation, they wonder why indeed we need this day. It should be something, we can celebrate every day, or it shouldn't be a specific, a big date in the calendar for women. It should be something that comes naturally, right, to everyone. But I think it's as I said, in my mind, and also I would say even in the HR world, traditionally logistics is a very male-dominated, and still is a very male-dominated industry. There is still work to be done, and I think this day reminds us of that. And I think what also Amadou mentioned earlier, another important point would be for me to not make it too scientifically, or too technical. It should simply believe in the power of diversity, and that everyone a fair chance. And I think then the magic will happen. We have so much talent out there, also women, but all the other kinds of the gender dimensions. And I think it's about just unlocking that potential and offering the platform and the chance of everyone to bring their best to the table and shine in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really the case. So I was talking to a female team lead, just a couple of hours ago, and this was exactly kind of the message. Like, I want to be given the trust, that I can achieve this, right? And this is also what your colleague was talking about before, is that nobody knows how to do things 100%. But we women have the tendency to kind of, think that we have to achieve that we have to already know 100% to kind of deserve that. And he was saying like, okay, you're at 85%, it's fine. It's plenty. Nobody else knows more than that. And so we need to kind of like take it to there. And I thought that was a very good, powerful reminder also for myself that it's fine, and that there's a lot that we've already achieved. And so this is something where it's like, you stop, you smell the roses. This is kind of International Women's Day for us also, just to take a look. Hey, we celebrate, we smell the rose, we see what we've achieved, and then we push on, right? So this is something I totally agree.
And it's a good also chance to get maybe some flowers or some box of candies from dear ones. I don't know if that still happens in some cultures, but why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you so much, Smaranda. But we're here to talk about inclusive innovation. So one of these big words is inclusion, and the other one is innovation. And just from my personal experience as a consultant in innovation, I ask each of my clients, what is innovation for you? And I get a different definition every time. So Nathalie, what is innovation? How would you define it? And why do we need it?
How long have we got, Sandra? Yeah, it is one of those words, if you Google it, you get like billions of different types of definitions and hits. So what I'm going to do is give you my definition of innovation and then break it down. So I use a very simple sentence. Innovation is creating value culture of ideas that are new to you. So innovation is creating value out of ideas that are new to you. Now, this sounds very simple, but actually there's a lot going on in this simple sentence. First of all, we have the creative process. All innovation requires creative thought, but actually we know that there's a lot of creativity that never results in innovation. We can be very creative. We can come up with loads of ideas, and no doubt you have, or everyone listening in on this call today, we've all generated loads and actually really good ideas, but nothing has ever come of them. Or our organizations have generated ideas and we may never have acted on them. So we have to have creativity, otherwise there's no novelty. But we don't necessarily result in having something innovative out of a creative thought. So it is part of the whole journey, but not obviously the journey.
For opportunities to collaborate.
Create something out of that thought, that initial inspiration or that initial idea or solution. And it's got to be more than just a concept or a proposition or something on paper. It's actually got to be something tangible. And we could have products, we could have services, we can have processes, we can have digitalization, we can have business models, new marketing campaigns, sales campaigns. I mean, innovation can be across a whole spectrum of different types of areas. And I think that this is really, really important, because I think
implemented across the organization.
Equate innovation with technological advancement. And whilst that is part of it, it's not the only thing. It's not the only aspect of being innovative. But we do have to create something. Thirdly, we've got to create value out of the thing that we're creating. So it needs to have some sort of impact. And this value could be financial value, but like you said earlier, Sandra, we've got to start measuring our innovative outputs in a far more holistic way. We have to be thinking and running it through the grid of purpose-based innovation. Is what we're doing actually going to add value and create value for people? Is it going to have a positive impact on the environment? I think sometimes we think, oh, it's innovative, so therefore it's good. But actually not all innovation is good. And we need to be really thinking through what is it that we're creating and what is the value that we're trying to create out of that. And I think lastly, it's about newness, but it doesn't necessarily have to be new to the world. A lot of the ideas that we do generate are not necessarily new. But if they're new to us, Maybe it's the first time we've tried something different, or our organization has tried something different, and we're, you know, pioneering or bringing that into our space. And it is a form of innovation, but innovation is a little bit like a spectrum. We've got the incremental, the smaller things that we might be doing, right up to step change innovation and more radical disruptive forms of innovation. So there's lots of complexity in a simple word and in a simple sentence, but that's how I define it. And I think, you know, with regards to why it's important, I think innovation can be, and I say can be because we do know that a lot of innovation is not necessarily positive, but it can propel society forward. And we really need that right now. We need a lot of positive, purpose-driven innovation that really calls us to help to actually address some of the big challenges of our time, that considers not just profitability, but performance and also people and planet. We have to have sustainability driving all our innovation and our impact. If we don't do this, we are going to stagnate, more than stagnate. We know that. I think everybody is our consciousness globally is rising, but it needs to rise faster, and we need to accelerate our ability to really be innovative. And we need to skill people up to be able to do that in their everyday work and on projects and in the way that they contribute. So it's really about innovating, improving, delighting, persevering, pioneering, and leading with purpose.
For sure. And I couldn't agree more. I'm so glad that you said that, because I had this discussion with another person who was of the opinion that all innovation, no matter what, is always a good thing. And I so fundamentally disagree with that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Great. So we know it's there, we know it needs to be done, but who does it? Like, how can each of us kind of become part of innovation? Who usually innovates? Who should be innovating? How can you be a part of that?
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, because I talk a lot around diversity, in the sense of that diversity in itself isn't just a nice to have. It's not just like, oh, let's all be inclusive because it's nice and jolly and let's have a nice time together. It really is the heartbeat of being innovative. You know, if we don't have diverse thought, if we don't have diverse perspective, we can't see from different angles. And so to have diversity is to add depth and strength to our creative effort. And innovation in itself thrives on this. It's like the aspect that enables it to grow: thought, experience, perspective. So we have different types of roles in the innovation journey. And I think it's really important when we're thinking about innovation and being innovative, that there are different types of ways of being innovative. And if I can just touch briefly just on how I see this through the lens of the model I've created, hopefully that can unpack it a little bit practically for everybody. So in terms of identifiers, that, you know, the people that can contribute their skill set, who are good at this, they usually are the visionaries. You know, they're the people who are seeing beyond the horizon that we're currently, you know, living in. You know, they're like the people with the binoculars. You know, they're the people standing in the lighthouse. They're seeing what's
of being a top,
and they're calling us to change. They're calling us, they're saying things are disrupting, things are changing, we need to act, we need to be doing things that are different. And then we have the igniters. You know, the igniters really are the spark plugs of creativity and of innovation. They're really good at bringing lateral thinking and being able to ignite the process of creation. Often people still equate innovation and being innovative with this particular skill set. If you're an igniter, you're an innovative person. If you're anything else, well, you're just somebody that does stuff, you know. And I think that's another sort of misnomer we really need to break down if we're going to have more inclusivity in innovation. Investigators, these are people that are really good at dissecting and examining ideas. You know, they're really good at seeing, is an idea going to have that value? Is it going to potentially have impact? Then we have investors. They're often the bold spirits amongst us, those people that are believing in the impact an idea could have. They're going to back it. They're going to have courage. They're going to get behind the idea, to resource it, fund it, get whatever is required to make that idea happen. Then we have implementers, and often I talk a lot to implementers. There's lots of them in the world. And it's interesting, a lot of implementers don't see themselves as innovators. They see themselves as people that just get stuff done, you know. But implementers are absolutely critical. Their contribution is critical in inclusivity, because they are the people that get things done, yeah? Yeah, they're the architects. They're the people that structure things, organize, plan, build, create teams. They can transition concepts and propositions into reality. And then we have the improvers. You know, these people are really good at the critical thinking. They're good at refining and enhancing and seeing how we can learn from failure, get ourselves back up on our feet again, you know, learn from success, celebrate success, keep that constant loop. So if we're going to have inclusivity in the innovation journey, we need all these perspectives of these different types of roles, mindsets, skill sets, experience to enable it to happen. You know, in that sense, we've got to unlock, you know, this wider range of challenges that we face and really harness that diversity and different voices, particularly those that have historically been under-recognized and unrepresented, such as women, more and more into the innovation journey, and bring that inclusivity so that we can get this diversity harnessed together, because it's all about collaboration, and it's going to become more and more about collaboration. And collaboration is not a woolly, soft word. It's tough, it's hard work, and it's not for the faint of heart. And if we're trying to do new things and collaborate together, then even more so.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for yeah, go ahead,
Sandra, just to add to what Nathalie was saying, because I just, you know, the connection between, you know, having a diverse environment and the connection to the business success. Just saw recently on LinkedIn an interesting article. Forbes recently published this article, and basically the idea there was that companies with above average diversity produces 19% greater revenue from innovation than those below the average industry. So it's really the link is clear, the connection is definitely there. And there is also a McKinsey article, because I also was on LinkedIn recently on the same idea, stating that, and that's also something we in DHL actually do, stating that companies with more than 30% women executives, so women in management positions, are more likely to outperform companies with where this percentage is less, 10 to 20 or 10 to 30%. So definitely, I think the role diversity plays in driving the business success and innovation is clear, and is there.
I love that. And I think, you know, that's what we need to have as well, is, you know, have these facts, have these figures, have these stories that really sort of illustrate the importance of diversity. Because again, otherwise it's just an abstract word. And, you know, to really be able to anchor it and say, look, this is not just about diversity for diversity's sake. It's diversity because it's really, really important, and it has a really positive impact on performance as well. So women in leadership, we can.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at innovation, like if we're like really looking at it from the innovation world, we also have to see that companies who innovate very well through a crisis are like 10% better in general throughout the crisis, but they are up to 30% better after the crisis is done, right? So innovation is really at the core, and it is what we really see as kind of like the last like solid market advantage that you need to innovate. And if we add that to what you were just saying, Smaranda, then it really turns out that you need to have, you know, diversity, you need to have inclusion in order to have these innovation benefits to outperform your competition, if it's important for you that your company is going to exist in a couple of years still. So I think that is very, very interesting. And what I really like about your model, Nathalie, is that it's so empowering, you know, exactly like you were saying. There's so many people who think that they are not innovators because they're just the ones who get the stuff done, as you were saying, or the ones who are always like skeptical and critical, right? Because they're improvers and they're always like, oh, well, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, but this is how we get there, right? So we need all of these different ones. And I started using this with like multiple people and showing them like, okay, maybe the eye that you're focusing on is not yours, right? Maybe you're a different eye here, but we need all of them in this innovation process. And I think that's just, that's really cool. And it's really empowering, and it's hopeful to people that they can be a part of it, because sometimes we feel, oh, this is so cool, but I don't belong there, right? Because I'm not all sparkly and glittery and I don't come up with new ideas all the time. But yeah, but maybe you're an investigator and you really go down on that. You figure out like all the different numbers, like you were just saying, Smaranda, right? Or maybe you're the person who like implements all these things, and we need all of them, because innovation is not ideas. Innovation is actually, you know, doing something about it. So that's why I really like the model of the 6 eyes. So yeah. All right, Caitlin. So tell us a little bit about, you know, inclusive innovation at Birla Carbon. How do you do that? How does that play, you know, into your everyday work? And also, what difference does inclusion make for you in innovation?
Sure. So I guess one thing that I'd like to start with, and it kind of goes back to something you actually said earlier, Sandra, that innovation is a very male-dominated field. And I also work in a very male-dominated industry. Birla Carbon is manufacturing. And one thing that I'm very proud of is that our innovation core team, we have a very large network that I'll talk about in a moment. We're actually all women. It wasn't intentional, but it ended up working out that way. We speak 3 different languages and we sit in 3 different countries. And so even amongst ourselves, there's a good deal of diversity, and something that I think has actually enabled us to drive our innovation culture successfully at our organization. But when I joined the company 5 years ago, like I said earlier, we didn't have any innovation real framework. And so the goal was to create an innovation program, initiative, journey, call it what you will, to really enable and empower employees to drive innovation. So our approach was bottom up from the beginning, and leadership was very supportive of this. And how can we make innovation something that's organic, that we can build an ecosystem where all of our employees are engaged. And so in 2022, we launched what we called our big event. And this event was held in Amsterdam. We had about 120 to 150 employees from around the world. These were different functions, different genders, different geographies represented, and different hierarchies within the organization, to come together to learn from one another and to take that information and share it with their sites. And what we found after this event was that there seemed to be a real hunger for innovation, for idea sharing, for collaboration, for more global connection. And for those that are also on the call that work in a global organization, that's really challenging because we're all in different time zones. We all speak different languages. Our concerns on a daily basis may look different depending on what site, you know, we're at. And so we decided as an organization that we really wanted to invest in bringing these innovation resources to our employees. So my team made it our goal to visit every single site that we operate in within a year timeframe. So between the fall of 2022 and really the summer of 2023, we went and we visited every single site. We called it our road show, and we took this innovation framework and we brought it to our employees. And while we were there, we really made sure that, again,
in terms of motivation or
of different functions, of different hierarchies, and hearing the challenges that they're facing in their roles on a daily basis, and helping them innovate, even in small ways, incremental ways, the things that they're doing at their site. So for us, it was really important that our sites felt like owners and feel like owners of the innovation process, that they're the ones driving it, that it's not something that's coming from corporate or just from leadership, that they are the ones that that are part of this process. And that's really created this culture of innovation for us across the organization, where we do see more collaboration happening amongst employees of different regions. We do see that more women are leading projects that are being implemented across the organization. And we do see different functions involved in the conversations and discussions about challenges and finding solutions to those challenges. So I think, and I guess one thing that I will say, maybe more from a personal aspect, is through this process, we were really trying to not only break down the geographical barriers and the barriers of participation, with our operators on the shop floor, but we were also trying to break down maybe more of those human barriers as well that are sort of manufactured. And I think that we all have some level of bias. And so part of this process wasn't just going to the sites and helping them innovate, but it was also a useful exercise for my team to also bridge the gap of culture and really understanding where people are from, what they do on a daily basis after work, what drives them and their families. And so I think having that basic human understanding and connection has also enabled us to kind of continue to drive our inclusive culture.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think when we can connect actually on a more personal level, I think that's something that is so powerful and so exciting. So when we always stay just like in the online world and we exchange with each other, it works really well and you can do really cool things. But I think once you've met in person and once you've kind of seen, okay, what are the circumstances that somebody is dealing with, right? How do they work? Where do they work? Oh, okay, maybe it's July and I'm not getting a lot of things with them, but you go visit them and you're like, oh, it's 100 degrees here. Yeah, I can't think either, right? It's stuff like that you don't think about necessarily. But when you're there and you actually see what's going on, I think a lot of things make a lot more sense. And then you can feel a little bit better with them. Plus, I mean, you're not the only one doing innovation, right? You don't only have the central team. Like, how do you kind of like spread it more into the organization now that the roadshow is done?
Yeah, good question. So as Sandra said, we don't have just one core team. As I mentioned, we do have my core team on this call, but we actually have a network of what we call our innovation ambassadors. And these are the real drivers of innovation. These are the real champions of innovation, and they're voluntary representatives from each of our locations. So we originally started the ambassador network as non-voluntary, and we had the management team elect people to join. And we realized that it didn't always encompass those that have a real passion for innovation or different voices or different perspectives. And so when we created this voluntary approach, we really tried to target non-management level employees, those that really are looking for opportunities to collaborate. And our network includes a lot of different functions. I mean, we have people from quality and logistics, sales. We have people from the shop floor. We have people from HR. So really, it's a variety of functions that are involved. Initially, there weren't a lot of women involved in the network, and now we have quite a few women who are also part of this team. So overall, they're really the champions of innovation at the site. They know what's going on at the site. They're there every day. I'm not the expert on everything happening on the site level. And so for us, we wanted to create more of an inclusive culture where our sites felt like they owned the process and that this was something that was relevant and impactful and created value for them. So that's kind of one driver. We also have a network of what we call our innovation coaches. And these are individuals, again, representative of our sites, that lead systematic brainstorming sessions to help generate solutions. And we see these solutions actively being implemented across the organization. And with our coaches, it is more women than men as well. Again, unintentional, but our coach program attracted individuals who maybe felt that they wanted additional opportunities and to shine. So we really try to provide opportunities for employees at different levels, different geographies, to create communities, cross collaboration, create diversity of thought in everything that we're doing. And my team is there really as a resource to provide the support, the guidance, some structure to the things that we're driving. But we really want the sites to take innovation and run with it and do what's valuable for them.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and I mean, now we talked a lot about like internal innovation, right? So with you, Caitlin, it's like an internal network. There's so many different ways that we can innovate, right? That we can get something new, that we can grow our companies. And so one of the things that, for example, my company has just gone through for the fourth time is a merger. So basically, we decided that, okay, there's maybe some skills, some competencies that we don't have internally, and we don't want to actually spend time on building them. And so we're going to go shopping, right? So we're going to go and look and see who else has them. And then we're going to get these people on board. And I'm very happy to see some of my new colleagues actually be on this call. So that's really great. Um, and yeah, this is also a way of course, like how you can grow your business and everything. But maybe Smaranda, you and I could talk a little bit about like a merger. What does that actually entail, and how does inclusion play into that? And what happens if we don't include these new colleagues in a good way?
Yeah. Thank you, Sandra. Indeed, it's quite a spot-on question because I have a story to share. I did not mention in the introduction, but yes, I'm the head of HR for North Europe and global functions for Hillebrand Gori. You can even see maybe my background photo, a company of DHL. So just to go a bit back in time, to give you a bit the full story here. So I think back in March 2022, I don't know if you are you keep up with the news in the logistics world, but DHL Global Forwarding bought a company called Hillebrand at the time, a logistics company specialized. You can see already the grapes in wine, but also beers and spirits. And together with Gori, we had Gori already in DHL. As such, a new fresh company emerged, which is now called Hillebrand Gori, a company being a part of DHL Global Forwarding, our division. So I was fortunate because this is, let's say, the highlight of my career due to being part of a merge, of an integration, acquisition of this size is something that has not really happened in many years in the DHL world. And I've been part of the journey from early days. As HR integration lead in the first place before this role, and I witnessed firsthand how key is indeed to be consistent and also diligent in communication and sharing the same message to the newly formed organization. You can imagine there's a lot going on in terms of change, cultural shock, uncertainty. What will happen to me, to my job? Will I keep it? This is everyone saying DHL is a huge company, huge corporation. They were a medium-sized company at the time, family-owned at the very beginning, actually originates in Mainz, here in Germany. So there were lots of doubts, lots of concerns, and we are talking about 3,000 employees globally, right? It's not a small company of few hundreds. It's at the time was 3,500 even. So what we did was, there were many things we did, but I think few key points I want to mention to you. First, we started with the fact, communicating the fact that everyone first is important to the success of the integration. There was no hidden plan or a hidden agenda that we wanted to kick anyone out or take a huge part of the company and let them go. No, everyone had a place in the new company and everyone was welcome to join in and be part of the new journey that was shaping at the time. And that everyone is part of writing, in a way, the history again, because this was a merge and an acquisition that did not really happen in a long time in DHL. And I can say, so we did adopt also a couple of measures financially as well to motivate them to stay. I have to be honest with you, and I think that was already a trigger for them and a lever for them to want to stay as a retention bonus, for example. But I think, and on top of that, was also walking the talk, right? And what you also said, Nathalie, showing that commitment to the organization from management and us in HR, that this is what we say. We mean it. It's we want everyone to stay. There is nothing to be worried about, and the job is safe, and you have a place in this company. And I have to say the success we have accomplished the acquisitions of the integration until now, and it was, I don't have the exact number or percentage, but we had a small number of employees really leaving in the first year, which was 2022, 2023. Meanwhile, people have personal reasons to change or leave. That's, I think, something different. Of course, it's a new environment. People might not feel comfortable or not find their place in this new world, but it's not the reason that the company was bought by DHL. And I think another point was actually the newly formed culture was another key element. If you want the glue that was keeping it all together, what does Hillebrand Gori stand for? What is our business model? What is our business goal? And what do we stand as an organization? We have a new culture, new values, new mission. It was important to bring everyone along to feel that the sense of belonging, the being proud, because Hillebrand has a huge legacy and a huge history of being a top logistic provider for the wine producers. So for that, they are very proud and very attached emotionally. And we keep that. It was not like DHL just erasing everything that there was legacy-wise and start something orange and yellow and orange. You can even see the branding is very much adapted. But to feel proud and wanting to be part and to belong in this new company. And I think this contributed significantly to the success of the new organization and brought us where we are today in a pretty much stable organization.
Yeah, and that's very impressive, because like mergers are so difficult to go through to make sure that people actually stay on board. And I mean, if you merge two companies and then you lose half of the people, what is it that you have left, right? So it's very important to keep that knowledge, because that's how you will create your innovation. So I think that's very impressive what you just shared, Smaranda. Thank you so much. Good. Well, we are in a webinar on, innovation, women in innovation. And so, Nathalie, at this point, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what specific perspectives can women actually add to the innovation space, right? We talked about the different, like the 6 I's, the different perspectives on innovation in general, outsiders kind of like coming in and contributing to that. What's women's role in that? And I mean, that's half of the world's population, so it might be a little bit of a big question, but what do you think?
Yeah, I was really pondering on this earlier, this question, and I think one of the things, and I'll illustrate this a little bit with a story as well, that I think that as women, we are powerhouses. We're powerhouses of consumption and influence. We determine a lot of what we buy for our homes, for our families, for our children. I just want to take the food industry as an example. I don't know if anyone's come across Yuka. Has anyone come across the app Yuka? I've just discovered it, and it's like transformed my buying. And Yuka is actually it's an app, but it was designed by in France actually back, I think it was in 2017, by 2 men and a woman. And actually last year they hit 40 million users. Basically, they've created this app, and you have you can go and scan your barcodes of all your products, food products and cosmetic products, and see what is inside. And it's all independently verified and measured, and you can actually measure everything that is going inside these products. And it's been really interesting. Just in the last few weeks, I've been scanning around all my cupboards in the kitchen, everything. And even when I'm going down to the supermarket, I'm scanning things there, even in the organic sections and everywhere. And I must say, some of the findings from this have horrified me. It's like, oh my, this brand projects itself as a leader in sustainability and, positive impact on human consumption, and it's coming out poor or bad on Yuka. Other things are coming out excellent, but it's very, very interesting, because as a consumer, what things like this are doing, and they're putting in the hands of buyers, of consumers, great influence. And women are huge influencers when it comes to this. And I was thinking, wow, it's 2024, and actually so many of the things that we're innovating and creating are still not very good. They're not very good for us, either for us as individuals or for the planet. And really, we can't be ignorant anymore. We really got to sort of close the divide between what we're creating and what we're consuming. And I think women have a massive role and a massive perspective to lead the charge on this in a lot more vocal way. And I think, it's the importance of us really knowing, of being informed, of being responsible consumers, and advocating as innovators, the design, production, the marketing, the R&D, the manufacturing, all of these aspects. If we have influence, if we are inside organizations, we can influence the debate. And I'm not saying that things are simple, and I know there's loads of complexity in product development and everything else. But what I am saying is that we have to be a lot more vocal. And I think women can give the perspective of a more holistic, more user-centered approach to design, and hopefully with some of our maybe more innate sensitivities of the feminine anyway, and I know men can have that as well, I'm not excluding men here, but it is, there is something, I think, that within the woman's sort of realm of quality that we can bring into the innovation space. I think that this is really, really important. And the more we have increased representation of women in leadership, we can shape corporate social responsibility strategies, we can shape innovation agendas, we can ensure that companies are not just pursuing technological advancement for the sake of it or for very narrow reasons, but we're addressing ethical considerations, we promote equity and sustainable development. And I think that the active involvement of women in innovation is not just about gender equity. It's about drawing on the full spectrum of human potential. And we cannot exclude half of the world's population. We have to be at the table, making the decisions, influencing the decisions, and creating impactful change.
Thank you. Wow.
Sorry, I got a bit on my
that was great.
I've been feeling so passionate about this over the last few weeks.
I absolutely love it. Yes, for sure. So, Caitlin, what do you think about that? Do you have the same vision? What is it that what's your personal objective? Like, how do you want to push this forward? How do you want to, shape up more and more inclusive innovation?
Yeah, good question. I loved your answer, Nathalie, and I think that is a very impactful part of it. For me, at least in our industry and in our organization, I think there's still a ways to go for us to reach and include all employees, and not just women, but employees, particularly on the shop floor, because I think that's often an area, and probably in a lot of manufacturing industries, that is difficult to reach. I mean, number one, they're the ones who are running the machines and every day on a daily basis on rotating shifts, and maybe they don't have the same opportunities or resources available to them as those employees that sit in an office environment. And so for me and my team, we're really passionate about reaching out to those shop floor employees and really including their voices more in the process, because they're seeing firsthand the challenges at the sites every day. And so by not including those voices, we're probably missing opportunities for change and for improvements. And so right now we're actually in the process of rolling out a project to do just that, providing mechanisms and resources to these employees to enable them to be part of the journey and part of the learnings that we've had. So agree 100%. We definitely want more women involved in the process, and we still have a ways to go in regards to that too. But really, we also want to enable the employees that just don't have the same opportunities to have a seat at the table, as Nathalie said earlier.
Great, amazing. All right, so to everyone who is listening and watching, we still have a couple of minutes left, and we're actually not that many people. So if you want to go ahead, you can ask a question in the chat. You can also go ahead and show us your lovely face and unmute yourself and just ask your question directly. It doesn't have to be a question. You can also share a thought or something that came up for you. So the floor is all yours to anyone who wants to interact with our lovely speakers here today. And maybe just from my side, until somebody, I know, you have to think about it a little bit. I think what really summarizes this webinar for me was something that you said earlier, Nathalie. You said diversity is the heartbeat of innovation. And I think, first of all, that's kind of like a, wall quote that you could put out there, which I think would be very lovely in one of our offices. But I do think that this is exactly the essence, diversity and inclusion. That's like the heartbeat of innovation. Without doing that, we are not going to be as innovative as we can, and we're not going to affect the change that we want to and have to affect. And so, yeah, still opening up for questions here. But this is like what really, really stuck with me is that sentence that you said. I think that was just right, spot on.
Right.
Yeah, hello, I'm Marlies, and I'm working basically with Sandra. We are in the same company, and I do not have a dedicated question. I just sitting here and saying, well, that meeting is now coming to such a perfect point in my daily life, more or less, because I'm in the position that I have to discuss our diversity, inclusion, and equity policy with our leaders. Very male, very structured people. And just having this vivid and alive discussion, and your insights and your ideas and your thoughts about it is just brings me just a step further, where I think, okay, I'm armed. Let's go. So thanks for that.
That's excellent. Yeah, we have to have courage, you know, we have to have courage
Absolutely.
and
Right.
confidence to speak out, to step out, say the right thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marlies. Any other thoughts or questions? So I have a question from Elisabetta to Nathalie. Do you think that there are ways specific for women to make them feel more comfortable to join the innovation efforts in their company?
Well, one of the areas, the things that I focus on is, I created a brand a number of years ago called Women Who Lead. And it was very much around that, actually, creating space for women, whether they're entrepreneurial women, you know, trying to forge their own way, or corporate women having influence within their own organizations. And they don't necessarily have to be innovation, like innovation in the title, you know, you don't have to be in the innovation department. I think it's about, you know, women who are wanting to lead, and they want to sort of have that space to be encouraged by other women, to hear each other's stories, to have to be inspired. I think a lot of it is around inspiration, and this is inspiring inclusivity. So, you know, that's really the theme of this, is to create those environments where people can start to really explore, well, what does it mean to me to be involved in innovation in my own organization? Is that, you know, is it something more formal, or is it like with Caitlin, you know, like, you know, being an ambassador, that you have another role, but you really want to champion innovation in some way, and finding what your own skill set is, and what your preferences in terms of motivation are around, and then being able to play to your strengths, I think. But creating environment is really, really important in helping people, you know, understand what innovation means for them and how they can contribute. I think that can really help with women, and that's something that I've focused a lot with in terms of my Women Who Lead work, both from coaching, retreats, and mentorship.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nathalie. Great. Well, we're at the top of the hour. So I